Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Show, and we are continuing along with our Championship season reviews. The last three, I must confess, have been a bit hard going. Looking at the three relegated teams, you can check them out elsewhere on the channel, and you can also check out the two automatically promoted teams so far. So this is now our sixth Championship club season review, and it is called Luton Survived the Championship, How They Did It. As always with these videos, if you are a supporter of Luton, you will obviously know more about this story than I do. So my video is made with respect and from an outsider's point of view. So please add what you can in the comments. But if I miss anything, I don't profess to be a Luton fan, but I try and hit the right level of detail. And it gets a kind of interesting point now, because we're going to be looking at Luton and we'll look at Barnsley as well. So we're essentially looking at clubs who have operated well. They've come out of League One. In terms of Championship clubs, they're not big clubs. And these are success stories, and that is in no way meant to be patronising. If you go up from League One to the Championship and you survive, often against teams who are, we're going to go there, with the parachute money, netting way more broadcast money, then that needs to be looked at as a badge of honour. So before the inevitable comments I get, this is not patronising to a Luton or a Barnsley coming up from League One. And also, no, it doesn't mean that I'll automatically do you survived, because a video for, I don't know, say a Reading or a Sheffield Wednesday or a team in the middle of the table, because the expectations are different, obviously, for a club coming up from League One than they are for an existing Championship club. Right, let's remove everything from the screen there and we will get into it. And the first thing we need to have a look at, that is the 2018-2019 end of season results through for Luton. It's the start of season to year end for Luton. And you can see in League One there, last season, as in 18-19, not the current season we just finished, an absolutely outstanding time, particularly if you pick it up there in October from the Oxford game there. You can see, I think, 12 wins in 14 or 11 in 14. No, it would be 12 in 14 going down to that Scunthorpe game. So Luton, a very good side in that first half of League One. There they are. Look at Pompey way out in front, even further. But Luton, they're 2 points per game. Only a little, if you go back, a little rocky start there, 1 point from the first three games, meaning Pompey get the march on them going into the new year. But having a very good time at 2 points per game over halfway through the season there. Look at Sunderland, 2 games in hand as well. What that meant, though, is that manager Nathan Jones there on the 9th of January 2019, so just over halfway through the 18-19 season, off he goes to Stoke City, and he is going to be a very important figure in this tale. You see his quotes there a bit. David Brent, this is not a job for me, this is a lifestyle. The fans will see that. Some Luton fans not overly happy with how sort of he put his career ahead maybe of Luton, and when the chance came up, he jumped. And the way it was done, but we'll come to that a little bit later in the video. Nathan Jones jumping at the chance to go and join a team in year 2 of their parachute money. No, year 1, in fact, of their parachute money, but already gone through Gary Rowett at that point. So in he comes. Luton, as always, turn to Mick Harford there. He's going to take them for the rest of the season. You can see there he was appointed caretaker. This is a month later, as you can see in the report there. 6 points clear at the top. They're going to win 5 games in a row. But what I want to talk about is this Mick Harford type figure. And I think all clubs should have this figure where it's a great player for the club who stays around. In Germany, they make these people like presidents of the club, and they're just there the whole time, and they keep the continuity and become the kind of DNA of the club. So I think the Mick Harford figure is actually very important here. And every time he's needed, he'll jump in and he'll go away, and just provides. I think president would be the right word, but provides real stability at the club. And as you can see, doesn't have to do a bad job there. Look, into January, Mick Harford, with, okay, to be fair, Nathan Jones' team, is going to win 6 games on the trot there. Not only, look at the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're all unbeaten as well. So it's pretty much 13 unbeaten with 10 wins in their superb run. And you can tell that they are now not going to be caught. So Luton join the championship. They're 94 points. Brilliant stuff. 2 points per game. Above that, across the season, only 6 defeats. That looks like a very, very good team. Mick Harford, as I've just said, important figure, steps aside, and in comes Graeme Jones. That had been planned out. He finishes up with West Brom, former Belgium and West Brom assistant. He was with Roberto Martinez, you can see there, before joining Darren Moore and the Baggies. Obviously, West Brom under Darren Moore wasn't the greatest, but Graeme Jones, very well regarded. In he comes. And this is what he's going to inherit. And I've just sorted the 18-19 squad. You can see by minutes played. And this is very important when we're going to talk about continuity and why they've survived. Because you can see Mpanzu at the top there in central midfield is the top appearance maker in terms of minutes. And then Pearson and Bradley, the centre-half partnership, not far back. Jack Stacey, the full-back. And then James Collins, there's your goal scorer, look, 25 goals. James Shea, the keeper. Shinnie in midfield. The other full-back, James Justin. I'm sure Luton fans will correct me. One of those plays left-back, I think. I think it's Justin, but correct me if I'm wrong there. Elliot Lee, Glenn Ray, Danny Hilton as well. Harry Cornick further down, and Dan Potts are going to become more important. But you can see what the squad is built on. The Nathan Jones team, known as a 4-4-2 diamond team with a narrow midfield whereby the fullbacks, Justin and Stacey, incredibly important in adding width and attacking numbers there and allowing big overloads. Really modern fullbacks, attacking players, particularly this season in that Liverpool team, the way Klopp has done it, and the division above, Norwich, with Aarons and Lewis doing exactly the same thing. But there they go. James Justin to Leicester there, 6 million. Jack Stacey, 4 million. Banking the money but losing their fullbacks. Here is what they do recruitment-wise. And it's all a bit Moneyball, really. Moneyball tells us that goalkeepers are undervalued. So I think that's a club record, correct me if I'm wrong, for Simon Sluga in goal there, 1.5 million. And then very cautious. We've got loans and free transfers. Callum McManaman, decent age, former FA Cup winner, obviously with Wigan. Martin Craney, just promoted with Sheffield United, some experience there. Galloway at full-back, Tunnicliffe into midfield, championship experience, and Jacob Butterfield as well. And then, as we know in the championship, loan signings, vitally important. Izzy Brown was supposed to do a job for Leeds, but they couldn't ever get him fit. James Bree, full-back, and Luke Bolton, the same. So not betting the farm on going up here, cashing in on their assets and hoping to create new ones. We've heard that before in the championship. Graeme Jones does, however, try and keep playing the same football. I was at that first game. Luton were back, mad 3-3 draw with Borough. There is a little splurge. You can see end of August there, 3 wins in 5 games. And then another one, I was at that game as well. So the run from the end of August through into mid-October is decent there with 4 wins in 8 games. However, What then follows is not great at all because it's very stripy, the form chart there. Look, 5 straight defeats and then another 4 in 5 with the odd wins. They're important ones at home against rivals Charlton and Wigan. Hold that thought for when we get to the end of the season, because both of those teams are going to be relegated ultimately. But look at the 7-0 in there and just look at the goals against. But what would be a better measure of this, looking at the league table end of year? They're not bottom at the end of year. They're second bottom. They're only 1 point away from, 1 point away from survival. But the goal difference so bad. And look, 53 goals shipped in the first 25 games. Luton conceding over 2 goals per game. Hey, we were talking about over 2 points per game. And Graeme Jones does make a concerted effort. I'll talk about a particular game in a minute to try in the new year, particularly after that 7-0 at Brentford, to try and shore it up a little bit and move slightly away from Nathan Jones' kind of attacking high-octane football with fullbacks forward to something a bit more pragmatic, and it did need doing. Speaking of Nathan Jones, just hold that thought. 1st of November, Stoke City sack manager with Potter's second bottom of the Championship. Yeah, interesting. A couple of ins here. Kyoso from Hartlepool as another fullback. They're looking for a new Stacey or Justin, but a good sign in there. Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's done the rounds in the Championship at my team, Ipswich, and at Stoke, in fact, where he would have worked with one Nathan Jones. In he comes. That's going to be quite important. And what else is going to be important is here's some quotes from Gary Sweet, who's the chief exec, I think. Reading from the top there, with the backdrop of player values already being seemingly inflated by clubs intent on breaching profit and sustainability rules, it was a market which didn't present itself easily for us to attract players. 90% of our time tended to be spent on activity that never saw the light of day. Gary Sweet rightly kind of decrying the behaviour of some Championship clubs that just seem intent on gambling and risking it all. And the important message from Luton's ownership is no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to go with administration. If we go down, we're going to go down, but we're going to be sustainable and have a chance of coming back. We're not going to bet the farm, like I said. Here are the post-lockdown results, and a few things are relevant here. The wins do start to come back, and particularly I'll draw your attention to that Brentford game. I was at that one. Having lost 7-0 to Brentford, a wholly more pragmatic strategy gets them the win in the return game. And you can see a bit of a shift in form under Graeme Jones before COVID hits. And what I will say, a big rising of the tide this season, the points per game and the pace of those teams at the bottom of the Championship, quite unprecedented. And we'll see that with Luton's final points total being way advanced of what it was last season. And look there, under Graeme Jones there, 4 wins in 7 games with 2 draws tacked on as well. Decent form. In we go to COVID, and maybe a surprise here. Jones' contract terminated by mutual consent. That in April, Luton have today come to a mutual agreement on the termination of Graeme Jones' contract. They're given the current circumstances affecting not only the football world as a whole, the club are taking an early move to restructure in order to reduce cost base. All very, very sensible. As we heard from Gary Sweet, Luton do things sensibly. Much of the Championship don't. But we do know that in the background lurks Nathan Jones without a job. And I wonder, we'll never know whether conversations were had. But here he comes, making his return there on the 28th of May. Nathan Jones returns as manager. It's either going to be brave or stupid. Jones immediately kind of apologizes. I went against everything they'd given me. I love the club and I wholeheartedly regret how those events came out. Kind of did the right thing. And look, the idea is if it's going to benefit all parties, Jones, Luton, the Luton fans, the club, make the apology, get on with it. And as we can see, it is going to work. But do remember that the form had turned a little bit before, but nothing compared to the form under Nathan Jones there. Look at that. The last 9 games of the season, 1 defeat. And look, they got all the goals against out of the way in 1 game there, hammered at home to Reading there. But frankly, Luton was superb after lockdown there. 4 wins, 4 draws, and 1 defeat. So that's not going to be far from 2 points per game. If I quickly add that up, 16 points from 9 games, if I've added that up correctly. And just look at the last 4 games as well. 10 points in the last 4 games there, including a huge seismic late goal by Kazenga Luar in that game away at Hull. Penultimate game there. He gets the winner, but also look at the previous win at rivals Huddersfield as well. And look, Swansea possibly going to be getting to the playoff final. Luton going away there and winning, drawing away at Leeds United. And on the last day, they were behind in this game. They beat Blackburn and they survived. Brilliant stuff by Luton. There is the final table. 51 points, Luton Town. I make my projections at the start of every season based on 1 point per game, suggesting that will be enough for you to stay up. It certainly was the previous season. I don't know historically. I think you get the odd freak year. There was one where Peterborough got relegated with a huge total. But this is one of those freak years. And Luton survived there. Charlton relegated on 48 points. Obviously, the 12-point deduction from Wigan helped. But look, Luton are 3 places above the drop. If you add the 12 on to Wigan, they'll obviously be 2 places above the drop. So brilliant stuff there. There is a form table, and I want to give Graeme Jones some credit here, not just Nathan Jones. This is not Nathan Jones coming in and completely flipping the results, because that goes back to the 12th of February, that form table. The last 15 games, Luton would have been a top 6 team based on their form there. Brilliant stuff. 27 points in 15 games. So nigh on promotion form. I mean, look at Leeds out there out in front with ridiculous last 14 games. Incredible form from them. But come on, we're talking about Luton here, and they did outstandingly. And look at the teams who went down. So Luton 27 in that time. Hull with 5, my goodness. Charlton with 12, and obviously Wigan with the points deduction killing them. Let's look player-wise how they did it. So you will start to see a few familiar names, and you'll start to see that the bedrock of the promotion team, other than the 2 fullbacks, is still important here in Pearson and Bradley. We'll talk about them, and Carter Vickers as well. But James Collins, again, 25 goals in League One and 14 in the Championship. Good striker, increasing your asset there, keeping in there. Harry Cornick played a lot of games. He's only 25, increasing the asset there. 9 goals from him. And the lone players, James Bree did well. Izzy Brown did really well, but again, I mean, look at the numbers. 7 assists in 17 starts. But 17 starts says it all. They couldn't get him on the pitch often enough. And Cameron Carter-Vickers did have an impact there. They did end the season without that partnership of Bradley and Pearson actually together. Cameron Carter-Vickers coming in and playing games at the end of the season. But what we can say is, look, Sluga, they spent money on. It was a bit hit and miss. He did have some errors, but they kept behind him. They protected the asset. They moved Shea, the reserve goalkeeper, in at times. But generally, the recruitment was good. The loan players contributed. They banked money. They didn't blow it all. And particularly, I think you'll probably see Callum McManaman there. Excuse me, let me just turn the volume off there while we are talking. Making good strides there on a free transfer. And Ryan Tunnicliffe as well. So how did they do it? Well, here is my theory. They cashed in on the assets and they did it early as well. Look at what Hull did. they tried to use the asset and then sold halfway through the season. Look at what Charlton did as well. They didn't protect the asset, as in Aribo and Bauer and Fosu were allowed to leave for 3. Well, Luton, they cashed in on their assets, Justin and Stacey, to bankroll the season. That's fine. In the Championship, when you're up against parachute clubs, it does not matter if you sell your biggest assets. You kind of have to. And Brentford do it, Bristol City do it, Preston do it, and they've been, far higher up in the table. Luton did the right thing, sell the assets at the right time, reinvest well. New assets come. I've just mentioned James Collins is now a 14-goal Championship striker. They did it the right way. Continuity of staff and tactics. Look, obviously we're talking mainly about players there, but Mpanzu, Collins, Pearson, Bradley, Cornick, all played lots of games last season. I always talk about year 2 of a plan. This is year 2 for the core of that team. It was only the fullbacks that went. Sensible ownership. Gary Sweet constantly talking about not getting drawn into this ridiculous bun fight and, clubs really, really maxing themselves out and things of that nature. They did it right. And the bottom one I've put there, bravery on and off the pitch. There's several decisions that were brave, that were good. First of all, they went with Graeme Jones. He was untried. That was brave. They were happy to sell the big assets, I've already mentioned. That was brave. They tried to play the attacking system. That was brave. Conceded loads of goals. They went away from what had been successful in League One. That was brave. But the bravest thing of all was swallow your pride, and they brought back the guy that had left them. Sometimes it doesn't work, but they didn't allow emotions to get in the way of what looks like is going to be a very, very good decision. So those are kind of my 4 biggest things here. Cash in on assets early, continuity of staff and tactics, particularly with Mick Harford there, still overseeing everything, the constant there. Sensible ownership, and they've been brave in decisions. They weren't scared to sell big assets, and they weren't scared to get rid of one manager and bring back a manager who had previously been there. That is my thoughts on Luton, who I congratulate wholeheartedly. 51 points. Brilliant stuff in a very hard season to stay up. And the caveat that Wigan got the deduction, well, there's still a couple of places higher than that, even if Wigan had finished on what many think should have been their rightful points total. So that is my thoughts on Luton. As I always say, these videos are made with respect. If you support Luton, then you know more about it than me. So please get your comments in. And if I've missed anything, don't be spiteful or snide. Just add it to the debate and add the information. This is, I guess, a celebratory video. If you think I'm being patronising, celebrating Luton surviving, then I probably can't help you. You need to understand with parachute money that Luton and Barnsley coming up from League One and surviving is no mean feat in this division. So I do congratulate them. Those are my thoughts. Get yours in the comments, and hopefully we can get some debate going. If you are rude to anyone or just a jerk in the comments, I will delete and block you. We're trying to make this channel an oasis on YouTube where we don't get the normal screaming in traffic and, general football fan nonsense that some people think they have to behave in that way. So get involved. You can support the channel via Super Chat or by subscribing on Patreon. I'm trying to make a go of this, and I would love to have you as a financial supporter in either of those methods. If you don't want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Hit the thumbs up button. That helps me out. Comment, get the debate going. Engagement helps with YouTube, and it helps me learn more, especially if you know more about Luton than I do. But moreover, hit that subscribe button. That says 10,000. We're already up to 10,500. And if you're a Luton fan and you want more coverage of your team, we're doing Championship, obviously, next season. So well worth subscribing. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Luton survived the Championship, and that is how I think they did it. It's all my opinion. If you've got something different to say, get involved in the comments. Like I say, keep it civil, keep it polite. Don't let your emotions get ahead of your reason. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. We will be doing Barnsley next, and then get your request in for which team you would like me to do after that. Really enjoying doing all of these season recaps. Right. Thanks for watching. Over and